Okay, so here we are. I'm going to look at two of my college sketchbooks. Unfortunately, I have only got two now. I did have like about four because I did 2 years. I did AS level and A levels at art, but I've just got these two now. I think it's really useful to look back at these as a kind of starting point of where to go next, almost to get a bit of kind of like inspiration. Sometimes you kind of need to look where you've been to know where you're going. Bit philosophical for this time in the morning, but there we are. And I'm going to start with this first one, and my art tutor was called Jenny Rintoul, and she was actually my favourite art tutor. She really inspired me, and she said something that stayed with me, and it didn't make sense at the time, but it does now. She said, your art muscle is like any other muscle. You need to constantly work it out in order to stay strong. And that didn't make sense to me because at the time, I was used to always doing art every single day. I've drawn as long as I can remember. When I was a kid, that's all I used to do. It's what I did as my hobby. So I couldn't remember a time where I didn't draw. So therefore, my art constantly stayed either at the same level or just got better and better. But it's only since I've gone through a number of years where I haven't been making as much art, I haven't been doing as much drawing, I've maybe focused on other craft activities rather than just drawing, that I've really noticed that when I come back and look at these sketchbooks from my college days, so these are when I was kind of 16 to 18 at college. I'm now 32, so quite a few years ago. I realised that actually in some ways I've got worse because I haven't done as much drawing. I haven't practiced. I haven't been working that muscle. I remember she said to me, she said like she used to just doodle in a sketchbook in front of the TV just to constantly keep working out that muscle. That's something I need to get back to, and I have noticed that recently, since about kind of June 2022, when I really made an effort to try and get back to doing sketchbooking, get back to doing art. I have seen a bit of progress between then and now. Now we're in January 2023, but I'm still not back to this very first sketchbook, I don't feel. I haven't had a good look at these two sketchbooks, but I did have a quick flick through, and I was like, God, I don't think I could do that now. So I'm kind of going to use this as a little bit of inspiration, and I thought it might be quite interesting for you. I love watching sketchbook tours, so hopefully you like it. So we're going to start off in, so this was my AS level, that was my A level. Like I said, there are other sketchbooks to accompany it, but I must have got rid of them for some reason. So we've just got these. So let's have a look-see. So here we're looking at perspective drawing, kind of looking at the foundations for drawing. And I don't know about you, but I did GCSE art as well, and I spent 5 years at high school, and I learnt more probably in the first semester. We don't call it semester in England, what do we call it? First kind of term at college. I did it for the whole 5 years I did it at high school in art, just because nobody had actually shown me how to do this. Nobody had shown me how to use these lines and how to actually work out perspective drawing. And you know, when you see artists like with their pencil and they're kind of going like this, and like nobody had actually explained to me how to do that kind of stuff. And that's the first thing that Jenny started with. She started with the foundations of learning to draw, and actually almost like the skill behind it. And I just found it so interesting. I remember going to our very first parents' evening, me and my mum. And my mum actually said, you know, she's seen my drawing come on so fast in leaps and bounds, just in that very first term at college. So I really would recommend going back and like looking at this kind of stuff. And actually, it's a good reminder for myself because I kind of feel like I need to go back to that myself. Here is drawing of a trainer. Just a kind of still life study, and then obviously if you have done let's go back a little bit, if you have done art studies or have done any art college courses, you'll know part of it is looking at other artists and kind of doing master studies and research. So this, you'll see this quite a lot through both sketchbooks. And again, I think there's something that we kind of forget when we're older. We don't want to be copying people, but there's nothing wrong with studying, you know, famous artists such as Van Gogh, but also contemporaries. I mean, not here on my wall, I've got kind of Lee Ellickson, I've got Apple Cheeks. So like, you know, there's nothing wrong with gaining inspiration from our contemporaries as well. Because there's a lot we can learn from each other. So I don't think we should be scared about doing that. Just some little drawings on shoes. Oh dear, that's come off. So here, watercolor and pen, pastels. Use a shoelace around the outside there. I apologise for the poor camera work. I need to get better at this. So that's just a pencil drawing of one of my mum's shoes, I believe. Here, just trying to fill a sketchbook page by the looks of it. That wasn't much. Again, another artist study. I've used kind of tracing paper to layer up these images of shoes to kind of give a line drawing. I really love also the experimentation in kind of school sketchbooks. You kind of just trying things out, experimenting. And again, I almost feel like sometimes now as an adult there's like a pressure to always do something good in my sketchbook, whereas here, although this was, you know, effectively my my art study, so really you want to be doing a good job, there wasn't that pressure. There was that freedom to explore, and I encouraged that as well. So again, another artist. One of my other trainers, I remember that trainer, that was a nice trainer, Rip cool. Obviously, if you haven't guessed it, this is a study on shoes. It's a print of that previous drawing using extender base or tea stain background. I'm glad I did these little comments to remind me what I used. Again, something I don't do in my sketchbook at the moment. Maybe I should, because, you know, it's all very well looking at it now, I know what I used, but a couple of years from now I'll probably forget. Get another extender base. I think extender base was like kind of like a paste that you put on, and it almost transferred the image, I remember. Again, been quite a few years since I did these. So this is collage. Again, my favourite trainer. Okay, so looking at some cans now. This is just acrylic, quite thick acrylic. Gives quite a good bold finish with a fine liner. This is just coloured pencils. I wouldn't have had any fancy coloured pencils at this time. It would have just been probably Crayola, standard kind of pencils here in the UK. I like this sketchbook spread actually. I like the pictures that I've printed and to show what I'm actually drawing. Hey, it actually looks like the image. So that's quite cool. I like the shading there. Shows the light bouncing off. Okay, we've gone to bottles now. Again, showing how light uses. I like reading my annotations. I was just reading them there, showing how the light reflects, showing the kind of 3D effects. And this is just watered down acrylic with some watercolor pencils over the top, which is really good. You can just see the layering. And again, I think this is what I was kind of thinking about doing with what I've got for Christmas, giving the Holbein gouache, some Prismacolor pencils and the Neo colours. Again, layering them up to get these textures. Again, it's something almost I'm going to have to relearn. I think you just totally forget all these techniques when you're not doing art regularly. And obviously it's something that I've learned from watching YouTubers and things, which is why I love just sharing, again, sharing knowledge. which I hope you'll get from, well, maybe not right yet, but eventually you might get from my videos. That is just a basic drawing of a skull, nothing too groundbreaking there. This is a bit more like it. Again, another kind of using an artist as kind of a master study inspiration. Is a drawing I did of a little skull. I really like how this ink effect, I like the splatters. That's really, really cool. And using the hashing to define kind of the shaded areas. That's something I've done in this drawing up here. I did plein air drawing earlier last year by the artist Jill Sakakini, who's a pioneer priest in our local parish here. She came with us. This was actually on a weekend away with my church. She did like an artist kind of little group study, and we did this, and using the hashed out to do the shading, really, really effective. I'm quite proud of that piece, which is why I have it up on my wall. But that just reminds me of it here. And again, it's almost relearning these techniques, because you just forget over time when you don't do things. Moving on now. Oh, there's another one underneath. It's amazing what you forget when the years go by, isn't it? Again, using that hashing there. Surprises. This is why you should keep your old sketchbooks, even if you might be kind of embarrassed by it. Jim Dine, another artist, he used a lot of shading to select like negative space and smudging, but not like kind of the finger smudging that you do when you're kind of like at school, but using like kind of rubbers and things to smudge. So here's some ideas here, one with watercolor, one with pastels, and just one with pencil, using different types of tools. Really does make them pop, don't they? Oh, I remember actually being really, really pleased with this one. I think that it has worked quite well. My little comment there about my drawing. Actually, I think, yeah, you did do well, Sophie. Well done. Again, it's one of those things where at the time I'm like, oh, I'm not sure whether I like it. And now I'm looking at it going, cool, I wish I could do that now. The freedom in it. I love these expressive marks here. Hammer. I remember this is my granddad's hammer that my dad now owns. And I remember I took it to college in my bag to draw. And like, I remember my mum being a bit kind of worried about that. Like, so here in the UK, we don't have our bags searched when we go into college, but she was like, you're walking around with a hammer in your bag. How bad does that look? But luckily, nobody stopped me. Big painting of the hammer. I think it's just a pastel one of it. If I could grab it. I like the texture on here. Looks quite flat though. Actually, I didn't spend much time shading in this. Not one of my best pieces. But again, back to mark making. So using a rubber. Again, using a rubber there. Using long pencil strokes, cross hatching, crisscross, vertical shapes. Again, just playing with your art materials. Back to my trusty hammer. Again, I just love this shading and the freedom of those marks. Really, really lovely effect. Again, creates a really nice spread in the sketchbook, which I'm really, really pleased about. Here I've just done some more different tools. Using that cross hatching, using the smudging with the rubber. Really making those tools pop there. And creating again a really nice spread. Really nice spread in the sketchbook. Again, this is basic stuff. It's not using, and it's only using pencil and rubber as well. So it's not using fancy art supplies. Again, I didn't have the money to be doing that. But it just shows that, you know, actually experimenting with these kind of things, you can get really good effects. So here is using pencil with bottles, trying to get the lighting. Some more there. The typography is quite interesting. Brothers Cider. My dad used to work for Brothers Cider. Interesting fact, in case you wanted to know. Again, that's what it looks like as a spread. I really do like, especially on this one, I like the light. Again, just doing what you can do with pencils. I think they could have been bolder. You know, if we go back to, you know, the previous page, that one pops a lot more than this one. I think I probably could have gone in a bit darker, especially to show the contrast with the light. I think you might have got a better effect, but it's still a nice spread. I'd still be happy if I produced that now. Andy Warhol, classic artist to do a study of. I did a little printing effect. Takes me back. Who did like potato printing with their parents, when, like, with their mum on the kitchen table when they were a kid, making wrapping paper? I know I certainly did. That took me back then. Interesting. Looking at more bottles here. Obviously didn't fancy doing a typography here. Experimenting. I seem to like doing the experimenting. This is just acrylic. Again, it's when you start layering it up, it seems to get the best effect, because over here it's the acrylic with the coloured pencil over the top, and it really lifts it. That's something I really need to start doing. Thing is, I'm just too impatient. I think that's what it is. You know, I can't be bothered to wait for the paint to dry to then go over the top with stuff. Story of my life, being too impatient. I do love my little annotations. Obviously, we had to do it as part of the course, but I probably hate doing it at a time. But by the way, this blue and the carpet, this is my parents' bathroom, whose parents used to have carpet on the floor and a blue or avocado bathroom suite. Yep, I think most people did. That was fitted back in the 80s. This was not in the 80s. I'm not that old. This was obviously due to financial reasons. It took us to about maybe 2007 to afford to get a new bathroom suite. So we had that for quite a while, but that takes me back. I've actually seen some bathrooms starting to have the avocado suites coming back, so everything comes back around. Oh, and that's the end of the sketchbook. I obviously just couldn't be bothered with the last page. I loved that sketchbook, and actually, do you know what it shows me most of all? And I think, I have a feeling we'll see it in the next sketchbook. I really like this art tutor. When I like people, when I like teachers, I respond really, really well. When I don't, you can almost tell. So let's switch. Nothing against this other teacher, Anthony Felton. He was a lovely guy, but I just didn't gel with him as much. I think I was frustrated, you know. The only drawback with studying art is that you don't always get to choose what you want to do. You'll get given, like, I know sometimes we get given we could choose between 3 different subject matters for a course, but you had to choose one of those and stick to it. You couldn't just draw anything. You couldn't sit down like, I'm going to draw flowers today, if the theme was tools, for example. So I think that's what I found. I don't like being told what to do, and I certainly don't like being told what to draw. That is my problem in life. So here we are, Anthony Felton. So this is my 2nd year at Strode. Another artist study. I do remember this was always my favourite, using watercolor with a fine liner. A really illustrative style, if I can get my teeth in to say that properly. It almost reminds me of Quentin Blake, you know, the guy who illustrates the Roald Dahl books. It almost reminds me of his style, and it showed me how much I actually do like illustration. I kind of toyed with the idea of maybe looking at illustrating a children's book one day, but hey, that's far, far away, far, far away. Andy Warhol, classic. Always a good one to put in your sketchbook. Lisa Milroy. Oh, I really am just looking at artists here, aren't I? Little illustration there, but not much. Not much effort has gone into that. Oh, this really dates this sketchbook. Look at the celebrities on there. I mean, they are pretty much still around now, but I think judging by the picture, you can tell how old this sketchbook is. Flowers. Again, not much art going on at this point. Oh, some half-assed attempts. Cannot say I spent long on these. Well, I hope I don't. Some pictures I took. Oh, here we are. There's a little bit more effort gone into this page. I like the effect on the brown paper, I must say. I even said it there. I like the effect on the brown paper, charcoal and oil pastels. Well done, Sophie, for actually doing some art in your art lessons. More pictures, obviously had a trip to the garden centre. Again, classic watercolour with the black fine liner. Pencil drawing of a flower there. Again, you can tell I probably didn't spend much time on these. Oh, that's cute. So this is watercolour pencils where I added water afterwards. I do like the vibrancy of the bee, to be fair. That's quite nice. Let's get a nice pigment on the black there, it's quite nice. Bit of pointillism there for the dots for the flowers. And wax crayons. You forget about wax crayons. Again, it's one of those things, you don't need all these fancy art materials. You can just use the stuff, like most supermarkets even have, you know, little stationery sections. If you don't have the money, don't feel under pressure to go and buy all this fancy stuff. It's really easy when you're watching these YouTube videos of these YouTubers that have all these fancy stuff, but most of them, they've built up to it. And me, I'm gradually building up my collection of Holbein gouache and things like that, but it takes time. Again, just simple pencil here. Details inside the flowers. I like the shape I managed to create on that vase, that's nice. Trying to work on the shadow in there, didn't really work, but again, I can tell I'm not really feeling this subject matter. Oh, a bit similar to what we did before. Layering over effect. Oh, this is quite nice. Again, my classic watercolour with the fine liner. I do like that. Do you know what would have been good? If I'd gone back and used the cross-hatching technique, like we said before, to give that one a bit of depth. That might have been quite cool. This is my favourite page so far. Oh, there is the cross-hatching. Speak of the devil. There it is. Okay, so I did put a bit more effort into this page. Ooh. Oh, that little flower is. Poor little flower. Ah, now you're talking. This is a good spread. Look at that. Well done, Sophie. What do I use here? Watercolor pencils. I do actually remember this one. I remember spending several art lessons doing this. I think I eked it out as much as I could. I actually remember, it's all coming back to me now. I remember Anthony saying, if every page could be like this, it would be brilliant. Which, you know, I didn't take very well at the time. I'm like, well, what's wrong with the rest of the sketch? But now I can absolutely see this really stands out. That's a lovely page. I wouldn't mind scanning that in and seeing what that looks like as a print. What do you think? Comment below. Do you like that? Again, that's just with watercolour pencils. And they wouldn't have been fancy ones. In fact, I think I probably still have the tin somewhere of the watercolour pencils that I used. Just think, how much time spent on that one. Coloured pencils, they're quite cute. That's quite cute, quite good vibrancy in that one. I remember these. I remember looking at that picture thinking, that's really easy to do. And then try recreating it. I find that a lot with abstract art. How many people, how many friends who's maybe not interested in art really say, oh, that's so easy, a 4-year-old could do that. You try recreating some of this abstract art, it's dead hard. There's my first attempt. Pretty pants. I don't think I had the right paper, to be honest. I think I didn't understand what different watercolour papers and the different thicknesses could actually do. And I was trying to get this effect from these roses. It just wasn't happening. Look. This is like watercolour paper, but it's just not the right one. You can see the texture of the coloured pencils on that watercolour paper. It's quite cool. Again, more attempts. That's a bit better. I like the colours at least. Didn't really get the effect that I wanted, but you know, it's a little bit better. Cut that one up. Funny. Fabrics here. I obviously had fun with some fabrics there. William Morris. Now, I wish I had done a proper study of him. Look at that. Doesn't that really pop? It's funny, I probably would have found his art quite boring back when I was like 17, 18, but now I'm like, isn't that beautiful? I also think trends change as well. Again, looking at some other artists. Honestly, like, don't be afraid to go and look at different artists. Just go on Pinterest, create a mood board, an inspiration board. If you're doing it in your own sketchbook for your eyes only, and you're not going to sell it, there's no harm in doing master studies, in learning from again, like I said, from your contemporaries and from people just on the internet. As long as you're not trying to pass stuff off as your own work, it's really a great thing to look at what other people are doing and learn from them. Well, this is clearly Laura Ashley samples. Obviously had great fun going and get samples from the shop. Sure they loved me for that. Wow, Sophie, quite lazy sketchbook work here. You can tell I've really kind of pieced out at this point, haven't you? And there's a picture of my big piece. That is an improvement. But again, look, I've layered up with coloured pencil again. This is just a photograph of my final piece, but... And actually, although the piece as a whole is not the effect that I wanted, look at those petals. That's actually quite cool. That's a good effect there. Good depth. Good, kind of, is that going to focus? Yeah, good kind of detail. Layering up is the key, I find. That's what I am learning to redo. Okay, look here and getting the shapes from my roses and turning them into more kind of panels. I think here I can tell that I'm looking at stained glass now, making more stylized versions of those roses. Again, quite cool. It's something I could see me doing in my sketchbook now. Nice colour palette there. Just straight with coloured pencils. And here I've kind of chopped them up, stuck them over, layered them up, created a kind of funky abstract effect. Almost reminds me of Picasso's kind of face drawing, you know, where the facial features are all over the place. Here's me kind of, I do like the colour palette here, I must say. That's quite cool. Again, that's it as a spread. Definitely as a book, you can see that I've lost a bit of a direction. I wasn't connected to this art subject. I wasn't excited by it, which is why this sketchbook is a bit meh. There's odd little bits that's good, but apart from that, here we are looking at the stained glass windows. Another artist study. Oh, Tiffany, isn't that beautiful? And look back at my roses. Turn them into panels. Oh, that is, I think that's on, oh, that is actually on acetate to create the stained glass effect. I think that was meant to be over there. It is all now kind of stuck together, I believe. The years have not been kind to my sketchbook. There we are again. It's quite tacky actually, so I've used proper little, I guess, glass paint to my acrylic. Pressed flowers. Oh dear, some pressed flowers. They are looking rather manky. And there we are again. Peace out on the last page. Cannot be asked. My college sketchbooks. So what have I learned? I've learned that when I'm not really connecting with the subject matter, really don't spend much time looking at it or spending time kind of connecting with it. And you can see that through my art. You can see when I'm not connected to the piece that if there's something missing, there's that thing you can't put your finger on. And I think that is true. When you look at people's art, you can tell if they've been really enjoying it, making that piece, and when they haven't. So I've learned that. I've learned that again and again, when you layer up different mediums, you get a lot more depth and there's a lot more contrast. It makes it more interesting. And I've also learned that there wasn't early on a good interest in illustration, which is something maybe I need to look at again with the watercolors, with the fine liners. So I hope that was interesting, guys. That was my college sketchbook. Hi guys, just popping on at the end of the video to say thank you for staying to the end. I really appreciate it. I know the filming's a bit kind of, you know, wobbly. I'm just doing it on my phone. Don't really have an idea about editing, like I said, but I really appreciate the support. Please like, comment, follow, subscribe, all the things that the cool kids do. It really does mean a lot. Just wanted to quickly say as well, in that sketchbook tour of my college sketchbooks, I did mention the watercolor pencils. These are the watercolor pencils that I used. It's a bit bashed up. You can see the tin's a bit bent. I've had this since I was in secondary school, so yes, a very long time. But again, like I said, you don't need to spend a lot of money on expensive art materials and buying new all the time. Like this tin has lasted me. I wonder if I can open it up quickly just to show you. I don't want to take too long. Well, look, it's still, I've used that in all of those sketchbooks. I used it in my GCSEs as well. The white is super, super small, but that was good quality, wasn't it? That is the German company there. So just find it online. Again, this is from kind of 2004, 2005 I got that. So not sure if you can still get them now. You probably get something similar. But yeah, just wanted to jump on and say that. So thank you for staying to the end. Hoping to do another vlog next month. Hoping to look at doing the studio makeover. So although I love my little shed here, like I said previously, I want to try and move into the main house. It's going to be so much easier when we welcome our little one home through adoption, so that I can be in the house with them. When they're taking naps and things, I can maybe jump in the art studio just for a little bit, and it'll be a lot warmer because it's quite chilly out here. So yeah, so thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you hopefully next time. Take care. God bless.